Hello everyone, welcome to Meanlife Studies. In this video, we are going to solve one more SQL interview problem that was asked more frequently in recent data related interviews, that is return running or rolling totals using self-join. So they can also ask you like cumulative totals as well. Okay, so interviewers will be giving a different information, like either it could be employees details, or it could be transaction details, or it could be sales details, whatever it could be. And then they are going to ask you have to return one more column as running or rolling or cumulative totals using self join. Okay, so now we'll see how we are going to solve this problem in SSMS. So if you observe here, I've just considered two tables, that is transaction and employees information. So interviewers also give you any table. Okay, and then they are going to ask you return one more column as rolling or running or cumulative totals. Okay, now first we'll see transactions and then we'll see employees. Okay, so now, so he's asking us to solve this problem using self-join, right? So what else we can do? So we can also use window functions to return one more column as the running or rolling totals, or it could be anything. Running averages also they can ask, right? So now, first we will see how we can do this problem with help of window functions. Okay. So with help of window function, we can also find running or cumulative or rolling responses. It could be totals or it could be averages, whatever it could be. So first, I'm going to return. So if you observe, I'm just considering only this table first, transaction details. And in that table, we are finding or we are extracting one more column as all running totals. Okay. So interviewers also ask you like return running totals for each user ID also. That is also one more use case, right? So now we'll see one by one. So here it is, we are going to find the running totals. Total in the sense we have to use summation. Summation in the sense you have to add all of them, right? So now I'm going to use sum of this amount, but you have to use over class, right? Then only this value will be allocated to each record, and that's going to this aggregate function is working, started working as a window function when you add over class to this aggregate function, right? Now I'm just adding over class from transactions. Okay, now if you observe here, it will be returning this is the total. If you add all of them, it will be returning this value, and that is allocated for all records. So in the given question, it is asking for rolling totals, right? So rolling totals in the sense you have to add this one first, and then sum of these two, and then sum of these three. Likewise, you have to add. So in which order? On the basis of, you can see here. So how we can do that here? If it is any order, is it in that particular order only it is adding, right? So if you observe, all transactions are ordered, right? So we are going to consider this order. Okay, let's see. So you have to mention that order in workless. Okay, order by transaction date. So in this order, it's going to return all running totals. Okay, you can see here now. First one on first 1500, it's 1500. Next, second 1000. So if you see here, this is the sum of these two, right? Next one, this value is sum of these three. Likewise, you can able to observe all of them. So finally, you are getting this is a value, right? So this is how you can find all running totals with the help of window function by writing a single SQL query. Okay, but so here also you can use a different, like one more use case is there, right? So what is that? You can also find running totals for each user ID as well, right? So how can we do that? So we have to use here partition by user ID in the order of this one, so that you are finding rolling values or running totals in the order of this date and for each user ID by mentioning partition by user ID, right? So if I execute this query, you can able to observe now for each user IDs you are finding the running totals. You can see up to now 1500, next 1500 plus 2500, 4000, next you can see all of them. So this is for running totals for each user ID. Similarly here also you can see for second it is the starting one, right? 1000, next 8000, you can see here some of these two 9000. Similarly, you can see some of these three 12,500. Likewise, for each user ID also you can find the running totals, right? So this is another use case. Now, interviewer ask you to solve this problem using self join, not window function, right? So now how we can solve this problem, we'll see here. So we have given only transaction details. So if you observe here, what we have to return here, we have to return first use case, that is running totals for the entire data, right? So you should consider here transaction dates are in order. In this order, we have to return running totals, right? Now, if you use join, how we are going to solve this problem? So, if you consider this transaction date, you are going to consider first only one. So, there is no previous date. So, this is the amount you have to return as one more column, right? So, next one, two. So, in second day, what you have to do? You have to add all previous days addition to that current day. That is second day, right? So, that means you have to add these two. For the next day, you have to add these three. Next day, you have to add all of them. So here you need to understand we are going to extract one more column with help of joins. How we have to join? It is very important condition that you need to understand. So this one has to join with itself, and the next one has to join with the current day and also the previous days. How many left for the previous? You have to combine all of them, right? So next one, this one you have to combine remaining previous all days. Then only you will be getting required data, that is cumulative values or running values. Okay. So now I'm going to join this table with itself. So that's why we'll be using self join. Okay. I'm going to return all these tables. I'm going to refer this as T. Okay. So you have to use here T dot start. Okay. And I'm going to use join same table, but this time I'm going to refer that as T1. Okay. On which condition? Here on T dot transaction date has to be okay. If you consider equal to, then you can see how it's going to join. So if you use like this, so this data like this record is going to join with, here we are mentioning dates. We are joining this table itself on the basis of this condition. So it's going to join, assume you have the same table here. Okay, how it's going to join? On the basis of, in first table T table transaction date, in T1 table transaction date. So this one, if all these values are matching, those respective records only it's going to combine here, right? So now if we use equal, this record is going to join with itself. Next, this record is going to join with itself, right? So you can observe now. So here we are returning only data from first table. So that's why it is returning only first data. If I use t1 dot start, that's going to return two tables data. Now, if you observe here, one date, same thing here, one date, right? So here we mentioned equal to. So that is the reason for all. You can observe same dates are merged, right? So now our use case is like we have to use this one while finding, okay, this is the total on the first day. For the next one, what we have to do, on this day we have to add this value plus this value. So how we can do that? So if we use this dates greater than or equal to or this date, so that you are mentioning this always has to be greater than and this always has to be less than. How we can do that? Here if you mention equal, this is how it's returning. If you use less than, how it's going to return? We'll see one by one. So transaction date, if I mention equal, it is returning. So if I use less than, how it's going to return? We'll see now. So if you observe, if you mention less than, this is 1, but there is no other previous day, right? So that's why it is not returning. So always this 1 in transaction table T, transaction date is 1, is less than in transaction another table T1, this date, this is a 2, this is 1, this condition is satisfying. So that is how it is joined. So now you can see 1, it is 3, 2, it is 3, right? So for each day you can observe the next days, right? So now our condition is to, if we use greater than, how it's going to return, you can see now. For the second, okay, for the second day it is returning first day, for the third returning first, because all these are higher than these values, right? So this is how it is returning. So now if I use equal, so how it's going to return? It's going to combine both equal dates and all dates are greater than first table and in the less than, I mean lesser of the second table, right? Now if you observe this one, first day it's going to join with first day, second day first day, all remaining are going to join with lesser than, right? You can see here, right? So now if you observe, 1 is going to join with 1, 2 is going to join with 2, second date is going to join with 1 and 2 itself, because we are using greater than or equal to, so that you are ensuring that first you are getting one record, second you will be getting first and second. You can see here one more 2 is there, right? Okay, where is that second date? See here is 2. One more second date will be there. For this 2, it should be equal to 2. You can see, but there is no other 2 will be there. There is no other 2 definitely. Okay, so in order to confirm that, we are going to use order by t dot transaction date. Okay, so if you return data like this, you can able to understand on first day it's going to join with first day, on second day it's going to join with second day itself and any previous days. So here is 2, it's going to join with 1, and here is 2, it's going to join with 2 itself, not any other, right? So next 3 is going to join with 1 2 3. You can see 3 records, 3 1 3 2 3 3. Next 4 will be getting 4 records. You can see here 4 4. Okay, 4, you can see here 4 4 4 3 4 2 4 1, right? For 5 you will be getting 5 records. Similarly for 6 you will be getting 6. Likewise, if you observe, for 7 you will be getting 7, because we are going to find running totals. Running totals in the sense the current day with addition to that all previous days responses, right? So this is how for the say, you can see for whatever the day you are finding, for 13 you will be getting 13 records from the first day to up to 13th day. You can see from first day up to 13th day you are getting. For the final record, you can see for the last record, that is 20th record, you can see here for the 20th you will be getting from first to 20th up to 20th, right? So this is how we are joining on the basis of on dates. For the first day you are going to use equal, and then second day you are going to use second and first. So that is the reason I have used greater than or equal to. Okay, so now how we can solve this problem to return one more column as total? So we need not to have these responses, right? So we are not going to consider them, and we have to return only the sum of these values. Okay, and we have to return extra column as running totals. So for that we are going to add. So adding of this particular column, this is from another table, right? That is T1 table. We are going to add all of them. So how we can add? If you observe, for this one it is only one, for two it's two values, because here this transaction user id to same date 20, right? So if you observe, these two are same, so we can use the group of these two people and we can use the summation of these two, so that we are converting these two records as a single group, and we are converting these two values as a single value by adding them, right? So here we just join those two tables, and then we are going to find the total of these responses on the basis of group of these people. So similarly, if you use here 3, so it's going to combine these 3 records as a single record, right? If you use group by of these 4 columns, okay, these all columns, okay, and then we are finding the total of these values, right? So that you are converting all these 7 records. For the 7th day you will be getting 7 records. These 7 records you are going to convert as a single record, and for that record you will be getting all the summation of values of those 7 days, right? So now we'll see how we can do that. So we are returning only from the second table, we need to return only one column, that is amount column, and that has to be total, right? We are going to return total amount. So this is from second table, in the sense you have to use T1 dot, because we refer that as T1. Okay. Now, if I execute like this, it's going to return error, because here we have multiple records, but we have tried to combine these multiple records as a single table, sorry, single values, right? So that's how you have to ensure that how we are finding these total values for the group of these records, right? So that is how you have to keep. So you should not use order. Okay, you can use group by before. Group by of, what's that? The combination of this user ID, transaction ID, amount and type, right? So for this combination, you are finding the total values. So this is only single combination, right? So if I use group by of these all columns, we are getting these two columns, I mean two records as a single record, and for that record we are finding the total value by using sum of this one, right? So now I'm going to use, so all these are from first table, right? So you can use t dot user id, t dot transaction date, t dot transaction id, t dot amount, t dot type. Okay, now so even if I remove this one also, no problem. So I've just grouped by of all these columns and then we are finding the total of these values. Now if I execute this query, you can see how it's going to return. So if you observe here, we are getting running totals for the entire data. That is 1500, 1500. The sum of these two, you can see here, 2500. The sum of these three, 5000. So likewise, you can able to observe here, we are getting 53,500. So that is what we are getting from Windows function as well, right? So this is for the running totals for the entire data. So similarly, you can also find the running totals for each user. So how we can do that? Let's see here. First, select all data from transactions. So this time we are going to find the running totals for each user ID, right? So now we are going to refer this as T. So you have to use T dot start. Join. So I'm going to use the same table. So that's why I'm just not naming as self join, right? Transaction as T1. Okay. So you have to use on which condition? T dot transaction date is greater than or equal to. So I'm going to write it here down. T1 dot transaction date, right? So if you're mentioning like this, how it's returning? So it's returning like, okay, we have to return all data from second table as well, right? So you have to use t1 dot start. Now you can see here it's going to join on the basis of first, second is going to join with second day and the previous days. How many days are there? All those it's going to join. So you can see here order by t dot transaction date. You can see now. So it's going to join with all current days and the day previous day. You can see 1 with 1. So 2 is going to join with 2 and the previous day is 1. You can see here. So similarly, 3 is going to join with 3, 2, 1. You can see. But this time we are finding the rolling values for particular user, each user and this day wise, right? So now you have to use one more condition as and in first table user id has to be equal to in second table has to be user id. So now tell me how it's going to join this user id and this day has to be equal to this combination. So this is going to come in here for the next one 2 but this is 1. So this is user id 1, this is not going to come, right? So this record won't return if I use like this, right? If you observe here 10 records are returning previous case. Now if I use this condition, you can able to observe how many records it's going to return. What is this error? Okay, here we should apply this condition here, not in order by, right? So we have to use here. Okay, so on join condition only we are using both condition. Okay, now if you observe what we are getting for the first one, it's going to return first and this day. For the second one, okay, you can see here, you can also mention, okay, order by of date. Okay, 2 is returning 2. Okay, you can also use here order by of both t dot user id and date. Now you can see for the user id 1 on first day it's going to join with 1 1. So for the next one user id 1 third, so third, right? So next one third. So there is no 2 second date because that is different user id. Okay, so that is why it is returning only for 3. It is not returning 2 second day. It is returning only 1 and 3 because the same user. So similarly you can see remaining also. So now what we have to return? We have to return the sum of, I mean the total values of this particular amount. So you have to use here sum of amount from the second table, right? So you have to use t1 dot amount. So now how we are going to adding all these values for the group of these particular groups, right? So you have to keep all of them in a group by. Okay, now I'm going to use group by of t dot, that is from first table, right? So you have to use t dot user id, t dot transaction date, t dot transaction id, t dot amount and t dot type. So now if I execute this query, you can able to see now for each user ID, it's going to return the total running values, right? So for this one, for user ID 1, observe here 1500, 1500. The sum of these two, this one. Sum of these three, this one. Sum of these four, you can able to see here. For the next user, this one, you can able to observe 1000, 1000, 8000. The sum of these two, 9000. Sum of these three, you can able to see here likewise. So this is how we can implement running totals for the entire data. At the same time, we can able to we can able to extract running totals for the each user ID using self join. Okay, this is very important interview question. We can use window function. By using window function, by writing a single query, we can get these responses. But the interviewer is going to check your how strong you are in joins concepts. Okay, so similarly you can easily solve this particular problem as well. Okay, same logic you can also apply in this table as well. Okay, I hope you understood. Thank you.